You know, in the high-stakes world of wartime cryptography, you'd think the most powerful code would come from some complex machine. But what if I told you it was born from a culture? Today, we're diving into the incredible story of how an ancient language became the key to winning a modern war. And it all boils down to this one really provocative question. Can a living, breathing language actually be more secure than a cold, hard mathematical algorithm? The story of the Navajo Code Talkers? Well, it suggests the answer is a resounding yes. And that brings us to the absolute heroes of this story, the Navajo Code Talkers. Now, during World War II, these Marines created a code using their native language that was, and I mean this literally, never broken. While the smartest minds in the world were cracking Germany's famous Enigma machine, the Japanese were completely baffled by something far more organic. Okay, so in modern cybersecurity, there's this fundamental rule. It basically says that a system should be secure even if everyone knows exactly how it works. The only thing that should be secret is the key. Relying on hiding how your system works, what we call security by obscurity, is seen as a huge no-no. It's a really bad practice. But here's where the Navajo Code Talkers did something amazing. They completely flipped that idea on its head. Their security came from what you could call cultural obscurity. The system was the Navajo language itself. It's incredibly complex, it wasn't written down, and was known almost exclusively to the Dene people. In this case, the obscurity was the security. But the real genius, the secret sauce, wasn't just using a rare language. It was how they used it. They used something called contextual mapping. Instead of just swapping one word for another, they created a system of metaphors based on their shared culture and understanding of the world. It was a completely different way of thinking that a machine just couldn't compute. All right, so to really appreciate just how revolutionary this was, let's switch gears for a second. Let's look at the other side of the coin, the fortress of modern digital security, which is built entirely on the rigid, predictable, and powerful world of mathematics. So the security for most of the internet, things like RSA encryption, it's all based on a really clever mathematical trick. See, it's incredibly easy for a computer to take two huge prime numbers and multiply them together. But trying to go backwards, taking that gigantic answer and figuring out the two original primes that made it, that is practically impossible, even for the most powerful supercomputers we have. That's the lock on our digital doors. But here's the catch. There's always a catch, right? A mathematical system, no matter how strong it is fundamentally static. It follows the rules perfectly, but it can't adapt. It can't improvise. If a clever person finds a flaw, that system is vulnerable until a human being steps in and patches it. And that static nature of algorithms is exactly what made the Navajo Code so different. Their system was the exact opposite of static. It was alive. So for example, a submarine became an iron fish. A tank? That was a turtle. A fighter plane was a hummingbird. And a dive bomber was a guinea, which means chicken hawk. See, these metaphors are completely intuitive if you share that cultural context. But to an outsider, they're just random. There's no mathematical pattern to analyze at all. And this is what's so incredible. Their agility. If a brand new enemy weapon showed up on the battlefield, the Code Talkers didn't have to wait for some programmer back home to write a patch. Nope. Right there, in the middle of combat, they could just agree on a new metaphor, a new code word, and pass it along verbally. Their cipher could literally evolve in real time. Okay, so let's do a real head-to-head here. Let's put these two totally different approaches to security side by side and just see how they stack up. So on one side, you've got algorithmic security. It's static, it's predictable, and it's ultimately vulnerable to pure mathematics. And on the other side, you've got cultural security. It adapts in real time, it's based on metaphor, and it just completely resists the kind of traditional code breaking or cryptanalysis that enemies were using. And on top of all that, there was another layer of defense. You see, the techniques that were so critical for breaking the Enigma code, like frequency analysis, were totally useless here. The Navajo language is tonal, meaning the pitch of your voice can change a word's meaning. Its grammar and syntax are incredibly complex, and it just doesn't have the same statistical patterns that codebreakers were trained to find in European languages. So you might be thinking, okay, that's an amazing story from World War II, but what does it have to do with me today? Well, it turns out it has everything to do with us. The core lesson here, that context is the ultimate key to security, is more important now than ever. In fact, we use this very lesson every single day, probably without even thinking about it. We use it through something called multi-factor authentication, or MFA. You've definitely used this. Think about it. Your password, that's the static algorithm. That's the something you know. But MFA adds layers of context, just like the Code Talkers culture did. It asks for something you have, like your phone with an authenticator app, or even something you are, like your fingerprint or your face. It's not just about knowing the secret password, it's about proving you are in the right context to be using it. And all of this leaves us with a really huge question, especially as we look to the future. As artificial intelligence gets scarily good at recognizing and breaking mathematical patterns, where is our truest security going to come from? Is it going to be in the next, even more complex algorithm? Or is it in the one thing that's uniquely human, that's unpredictable? The power of metaphor.